Have you ever opened your freezer and found meat covered in ice crystals, vegetables gone gray, or a mystery container nobody wants to open? Most freezers slowly turn into graveyards for forgotten food, a place where good ingredients quietly go in and are never seen again. In Japan, families treat the freezer completely differently, not as a place where food disappears, but as a system that keeps every ingredient fresh for weeks. Today, we're counting down 7 Japanese freezer secrets that can transform the way you store food forever. Let's get started. Number 7. Freeze it the day it comes home. Most people only freeze food once they realize it won't be eaten in time, and by then, freshness has already started slipping away. Japanese households do the opposite. The moment groceries arrive, meat gets trimmed and portioned, fish gets cleaned, and vegetables that freeze well are washed and packed, all before anything has the chance to sit in the fridge, losing quality. The freezer isn't treated as a last resort. It's treated as the very first step of food management. The result is simple. Food keeps more of its original flavor and texture, and far less of it ends up wasted before it's even been used. Some families even build this into their grocery routine, setting aside just 10 minutes right after unpacking bags to portion and freeze before anything gets pushed to the back of the fridge and forgotten. It's a habit that takes almost no extra time, yet it changes the entire lifespan of every ingredient that enters the kitchen. Think of it as buying an extra week or two of freshness on nearly everything you bring home, simply by acting a little sooner than most people ever think to. It also removes a surprising amount of daily decision fatigue. Since portions are already sized and ready to go, there's no standing in front of the fridge each evening wondering how much to defrost or whether something has quietly gone bad while waiting its turn. Over the course of a month, that single 10-minute habit repeated after every grocery trip can add up to noticeably less food thrown away and noticeably more meals that taste like they were made from ingredients bought that same afternoon. It also changes the entire relationship with grocery shopping itself. Instead of dreading a trip because half of last week's produce is already wilting in the crisper drawer, you shop knowing everything gets handled the same day, which makes buying in bulk or stocking up during a sale feel far less risky than it normally would. Number 6. Freeze fast, not slow. Once food is ready to go into the freezer, the next secret is speed. When food freezes slowly, large ice crystals form inside it, and those crystals tear apart the texture of meat and fish, leaving everything drier once thawed. Many Japanese kitchens solve this with a simple aluminum tray, since aluminum conducts cold far faster than plastic, pulling heat out of the food almost immediately. Meat, fish, and sauces are also flattened into thin, even layers before freezing, which lets cold air reach every part of the food at once. The thinner the shape, the faster it freezes, and the faster it thaws again when it's finally time to cook. Some households even keep a dedicated stack of these trays in the freezer itself, so a new batch can start freezing the moment the last one comes out, turning the whole process into a small, repeatable routine rather than a one-off effort. It's the kind of quiet upgrade that costs almost nothing, yet noticeably improves the texture of everything that comes out of the freezer, the difference between a dry, rubbery piece of chicken and one that tastes almost as good as the day it was bought. Even something as ordinary as ground beef or sliced fish holds its shape and juiciness far better once it's been frozen this way, which means fewer disappointing meals and far less temptation to just order takeout instead. Restaurants and professional kitchens rely on the exact same principle, freezing quickly to lock in quality. And there's no reason a home freezer can't borrow the same logic with nothing more than a cheap metal tray. It's proof that the biggest improvements in the kitchen don't always come from new appliances. Sometimes they come from simply understanding how heat and cold actually move. Number 5, organize it like a filing cabinet. With food freezing quickly and cleanly, the next challenge is keeping track of it all, and that's exactly what this next habit solves. Open most freezers around the world and you'll find the same problem: food stacked flat on top of food, older items buried and forgotten. Japanese households avoid this by standing every bag upright instead. just like folders in a filing cabinet, each one labeled with its name and freezing date. The freezer is also divided into clear sections: meat, seafood, vegetables, cooked meals, rice, so nothing has to be dug out from underneath everything else. At a glance, you can see exactly what's inside, and nothing gets lost long enough to be forgotten. It turns opening the freezer from a small daily gamble into something closer to opening a well-kept filing drawer, where every item is exactly where you'd expect it to be. Even guests or family members who didn't do the organizing themselves can usually find what they need in seconds, simply because the system is that intuitive. No explanation required, no digging through mystery bags at the bottom. Once this kind of structure is in place, restocking the freezer becomes just as easy as using it, since every new item already has an obvious place waiting for it, rather than sparking another round of shuffling and rearranging. It's a small upfront investment of time that keeps paying off every single week, long after the initial sorting is finished. Many families spend just one Sunday afternoon setting the whole system up, and from that point on, maintaining it takes almost no conscious effort at all, since returning an item to its labeled section becomes as automatic as closing the freezer door. Number 4. Freeze rice in single portions. Now that the freezer itself is organized, the next secret focuses on one of the most common foods stored inside it: rice. Instead of cooking a small batch for every single meal, many Japanese families cook a larger amount at once, then divide it into individual portions while it's still warm and fresh. Each portion is wrapped tightly or sealed in a freezer-safe container, locking in moisture before it has the chance to dry out. Whenever rice is needed, one portion goes straight into the microwave, and just a few minutes later it's soft and fluffy again, almost indistinguishable from rice cooked that same day. It's a habit that quietly saves time on ordinary weeknights, since a full side dish is ready before the rest of the meal has even finished cooking. For anyone who's ever thrown away dried out leftover rice, this one small change alone can make a noticeable dent in weekly food waste, turning what used to be a source of guilt into a reliable, ready-made staple that's always just minutes away. It also means dinner never has to wait on a 20-minute rice cooker cycle, which can be the difference between eating on time and eating an hour later than planned. Some families keep several portions frozen at once in different sizes, one for a single serving after a late night, another sized for the whole family, so there's always a match for whatever the evening actually calls for. Number 3, freeze the foundation of tomorrow's meal, not today's leftovers. Most people only freeze food after a meal is finished, storing away whatever wasn't eaten. Japanese families often reverse that entirely, freezing food before the meal even begins. Instead of filling the freezer with leftovers, they prepare the building blocks of future dinners: homemade dashi, curry, pasta sauce, seasoned meat ready for the pan. By the time dinner rolls around, most of the real work has already been done days earlier. Cooking on a busy weekday becomes far less stressful because the freezer isn't holding on to forgotten food. It's quietly holding on to tomorrow's dinner instead. Even something as simple as pre-seasoned meat ready to go straight into a hot pan can turn a stressful weekday dinner into something that comes together in minutes rather than an hour. Over a full week, that kind of preparation can save several hours that would otherwise disappear into last-minute cooking, hours that can go toward rest, family, or simply not standing over a stove after a long day. And because these meal bases are made in larger batches to begin with, the effort of chopping, simmering, and seasoning only has to happen once, even though it quietly pays off across 5 or 6 different dinners. It reframes cooking entirely. Instead of starting from zero every evening, you're simply assembling something that's already 3/4 finished, which makes even an ordinary weeknight dinner feel far more manageable. This habit also quietly encourages better cooking overall, since a batch of homemade curry or dashi made once with care tends to taste better than something rushed together in 20 minutes after a long day, and freezing it simply lets that quality carry forward into every meal it's used in later. Number 2, first in, first out, always. Even a perfectly organized freezer can quietly become wasteful if older food gets forgotten behind newer purchases. That's why many Japanese households follow one simple, unbreakable rule: first in, first out. Older items are always placed where they'll be reached first, while anything newly frozen goes further back. This one small habit keeps food constantly rotating instead of sitting untouched for months at a time. Combined with clear labels and the filing cabinet style organization from earlier, it becomes almost impossible for anything to quietly disappear to the back and get forgotten until it's no longer worth eating. It's a small physical habit, moving new items behind older ones instead of on top, but repeated consistently, it keeps the entire freezer in constant, steady rotation, the same way a well-run pantry or fridge never lets anything sit past its prime. Over time, this single rule does more to prevent freezer waste than almost any other habit on this list, since it doesn't rely on memory or good intentions, just a consistent, physical placement that quietly does the remembering for you. Even in a busy household where several people are opening and closing the freezer throughout the day, the rule keeps working in the background because it's built into the layout itself rather than depending on any one person staying on top of it. Number 1, never freeze more than you'll actually eat. And finally, we arrive at the secret that ties every other one together, and it isn't about technique at all, it's about mindset. The goal was never to store as much food as possible. It was always to make sure everything eventually gets eaten. A freezer packed completely full isn't considered organized in Japan. It's considered hidden waste. Many households freeze only what they realistically expect to use, then rotate those ingredients steadily into everyday meals. This reflects a deeper Japanese idea, respecting the value of food by actually using it, rather than letting it slowly disappear into the back of a freezer no one opens. In the end, every other secret on this list only works because of this one underlying mindset. The freezer was never meant to be a place where food goes to be forgotten. It was always meant to be part of the plan. Once that mindset takes hold, every bag, every label, every organized shelf stops feeling like extra effort and starts feeling like common sense, a quiet daily habit instead of a chore. And that's really the heart of the Japanese approach to food storage. Not more rules, not more gadgets, just a steady respect for what's already sitting inside the freezer, waiting to be used. It's a small shift in perspective, but once it settles in, you stop seeing the freezer as a place to hide food from yourself and start seeing it as one more shelf in an active, working kitchen. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.